Hey guys. So, stream of consciousness number, I have no idea. I need to stop keeping count of them. But I just wanted to talk about something that I've actually gotten emails about. By the way, if you don't know what my email address is, I'll put in the description below. I'm always down to just talk with a lot of my fans and just, hear their perspectives and stuff. But basically, I wanted to talk about how I've evolved when it came to caring what other people think about me. One thing I've realized is that when, I would say 4 or 5 years ago, even further than that, definitely, I'd say 9 to 10 years ago, was when I really started, so maybe middle school, beginning of middle school, was when I really started caring about people's opinions of me. And the thing about caring about what other people think is that it's very easy to kind of get trapped in that sort of way of thinking, because at the end of the day, we are human beings that want acceptance from our peers. It's just a part of nature. It's a part of evolution, biology, because I don't want to get too scientific, but biologically and evolutionarily speaking, we as animals want to fit into a group so that we have a higher chance of surviving. When it comes to things like disaster, or when it comes to being successful in whatever foraging or whatever you might be doing as an animal, right? So there's definitely a component in our brain that kind of encourages that type of thinking. But what I wanted to talk about was why we as humans shouldn't kind of think that way. And it's not like a switch that you can just turn off, right? It's easier said than done to say, hey, don't really care about what other people think, because I'm saying this now, I care 90% less compared to I would say even two years ago, or even a year ago, honestly. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you the habits that and things that I do now that kind of built that unconsciously. I never aimed to not care about what other people think, but through self-growth and development, I kind of was able to realize that about myself when I'm faced with similar scenarios and similar situations that I faced 2 or 3 years ago, where my reaction to it was a lot more visceral. And what it is that if you care what other people think and you get, let's say you get nothing but compliments, people strangers will just tell you hey, you look really good, or whatever, that'll boost your self-esteem, right? But at the same time, you're gonna take that feedback and you're going to run with it. You're gonna be oh yeah, I guess I really am. And you're gonna validate yourself based on that, because it's so in your face, it's so present to you that people are complimenting you and people are giving you good feedback, that when it comes to things getting validation from the hard work you put in, for example, or getting validation from the fact that you're consistent about something and that you truly love yourself because you know how hard working you are, that's just an example, right? And if you don't take validation from that because you get all of this easy validation from just people talking to you, it'll turn on you very bad when someone says something bad about you, a one-off time, right? If someone, for example, you say something and then it's misconstrued, and then someone says something extremely that's you're disgusting, you're ugly, whatever, right? You're gonna take that feedback just as strongly as you are the feedback that you took from someone who compliments you. That's just the nature of that type of validation, is that you start validating from people rather than what they say. And that's just the duality of getting this superficial validation. And it will ruin you, right? Think about how happy someone will get when someone compliments you, and then think of how that same magnitude but reversed, because that's the how that kind of system works. So what I argue, and what a lot of people like in my stage in life, and people who've been through life experiences a little bit more, have realized, is that validation can come from within. It can come from a place where you realize, so this is coming from personal experience, you realize that you are amazing, you love yourself, you're proud of the fact that, so I'm talking about me, right? I just want to emphasize that this is not for everyone, this is just for me. I love the fact that I'm able to get up every morning at like 4 or 5 a.m. consistently because I want to. I love the fact that I'm able to cook like 95% of the meals that I make. I'm proud of the fact that I'm able to exercise, work out. Proud of the fact that I have the energy to do so many different things. Like, I'm doing this right before my workday. Like, my workday hasn't even started. I'm a software engineer. So I work 8 hours a day on top of this. And I'm proud of, most importantly, I'm proud of the growth and the development that I realized that I kind of have for myself that I didn't really have like 4 or 5 years ago. Like, I would say that if I was trying to do what I'm doing now, like back then when I was more inactive, when I didn't really, I wasn't really aware of my surroundings as much as I am now. I didn't face reality at face value. I would say that I would have never been able to do this stuff, right? And me understanding my growth and me acknowledging the fact that I've grown in like really in ways that I'm very proud about, gives me validation. It gives me what I need to know to be like, hey, I'm a stand-up human being, and thinking about my relationships with my closest friends and just with my friends in general, as well as obviously my family, and knowing that I try my best to make these connections as fulfilling to both people as possible, and making sure that I'm just a good human being. I have that humanity in me. That gives me validation. The fact that all of these good habits kind of build character in you. They build things like trustworthiness. You want to be trusted by people because you understand your role as a leader to many people in your like community, whether it be like through phone or like being a mentor to someone. Like, I'm a mentor to a lot of my friends, and that's something that I'm very proud about, and something that I could have never done like two or 3 years ago, right? When I wasn't like working on growing myself. So these are things that give me validation. These are deeper rooted, more less superficial things that give me validation now, as opposed to 4 or 5 years ago when I went to a party and like a girl said, "Hey, you're cute," or something like that. Like that's what gave me validation. That's what drove me, right? Nothing else really drove me as much as that. But like, that stuff doesn't really hit me the same now, because I know my worth, and if someone says something bad about me on that same flip of the coin, like I was talking about in the beginning, I just know that, hey, they've met me for like all of 5 seconds. They don't know shit about me. So how can I seriously take their criticism seriously? How can I be so ignorant to be like, okay, that must be true, right? I don't take it in the way where I completely get devastated, or like my mental is completely gone, right? And that's what you need to do. You need to not work on your ability to just ignore things that people say about you. You should be able to, if anything, deeply take in what people say about you and just sit with it. Sit with that feeling. Sit with like why they thought that way. Because in my opinion, that's where growth comes from, right? The one thing you don't want to do while I'm saying all of this is that, say you care about what other people think about you. What you don't want to do is think, oh, I don't care, when deep down you actually do care a lot. you should be able to embrace that feeling that you do care about what other people think, but sit on it and be like, okay, why did they say that? What are things that I can do to improve myself so that they don't say that in the future? And if it's something that you can't change, that you can't change it, but you should be able to understand at least where they might be coming from, because I mean, the world is a cruel world, right? And people will just say stuff just to say stuff. And if it's something that you can't control, you should never, ever, ever take that at face value and take it like that's who you are. You should never think that way. You should always be able to take it, feel that pain, but like bounce back from it, and ultimately just focus on yourself. Focus on growing yourself, because, and I don't want to sound too philosophical or too unnecessarily deep, but people can take your happiness, they can take your confidence, your self-esteem from you, they can take your optimism, whatever, from you about the world. But the things that they cannot take from you, the hard work that you put in every day, the relationships that you've built with other people, the time you've spent alone in pain, trying to deal with certain things in your life, the life experiences you've faced that have molded you into who you are today. These are things that no one on this earth can take away from you, ever. And those are the things that should give you validation, are those things that other people cannot take away from you. No one can take away the fact that I wake up super early every day, that I work out, that I eat healthy, that I have all of this like energy. I drink water like every single day, like at least like 5 or 6 bottles, and like I guess like even more probably. But these are all things that no one can tell you. People can tell you a million things, but they don't change the fact that you are working hard and you are a dedicated and determined and stand-up human being, right? And as long as you are those things and you aspire to be those things, nothing that people will say to you will matter to you. And that's just what'll happen, right? Once you reach that point where you've learned to grow yourself and develop yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, that's when what other people say about you matters less. And that's basically all I wanted to talk about. Was people ask me, like, how do you deal with like self-esteem issues? How do you deal with being so conscious and cognizant about what other people say about you? And that's just the key to it, is that you should love yourself deep down, because once you love yourself, no one else can take that shit from you. And I'm saying this from personal experience, because I've been on both sides of the coin. I've been on the side where I cared about what other people thought, and I only got my validation from it. Like, literally the extreme of it too. Like, I didn't really get my validation from many other things. And then where I am now, where it's like the total opposite. Like, I couldn't care less about what someone says about me. Like, I know who I am. I'm a grown man who knows who he is, and none of that shit can ever phase me. Like, I'll have times, obviously, right, where I think about stuff, but it's not to the point where I can't recover from it, right? It's just, I think about it and I move on. That's just how you should be able to handle these sort of situations. Thank you so much for watching, guys. This is something that I'm really passionate about, because I've seen it happen to not just me, but a lot of my friends, when it comes to these self-esteem issues, when it comes to facing the real world. And I feel like I kind of understand myself when it comes to that aspect. And like, if you had like so low self-esteem, low confidence, you care about what other people think, just know that I was that person. Like, I was you when I was much younger. And we all will go through these stages in life, but we have to make sure to love ourselves, take care of ourselves, take care of our health, our physical, our mental, making sure that we're mentally well, and everything else will come in due time. Wealth will come in due time. but just focus on yourself and you can rule the world. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and see you in the next video. Peace.